Can you say something, Larry?
Testing 1, 2, microphone
okay,
check.
You're good. Microphone check. Who is this? That's one of my passions, rapping.
Yeah, that should be the next podcast. Rick's rapping career. It's on the making.
Hello and welcome to our third podcast here at iAnimate. I am your host, Larry Vasquez. Joining me again is Rick Arroyo, and we have actually two guests with us today. We've got David Hugh, part of our games and animations division there. And we have one of our new instructors, Jonah Austin, who will be joining us as well. I apologize for my voice here. I'm a little bit under the weather, but the show must go on. So here we are. And I'd like to welcome you guys here. Rick?
Yeah, guys, we had an inside joke how many times I'm going to be saying fantastic during the podcast. But I'm really happy to do this. And, rigging is such an awesome topic. It's really important for animators and riggers or technical artists and character artists. And it's something I find that hasn't been shared enough throughout the community. Just finding out and sharing this information, what makes an artist valuable, is learning these things. So let's, we should ask the first question.
You're really diving directly in the subject there.
Yeah.
We didn't even introduce ourselves yet.
We've got David up in Canada
true.
here as well. He's just recently left DreamWorks to go up to Canada, his home. And notice I said his last name correct. It's Hubert, not Hubert.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, actually, I've been with iAnimate for almost 2-3 years now. I've been an instructor for 2 years. I've been working at DreamWorks for the past 4 years, and now I made the switch back home in Montreal, and I'm in the video game industry right now. And I'm working at Eidos Montreal. I have the animation and cinematic director position for a new AAA and unannounced project, but it's a pretty exciting time right now.
We're going to definitely get David in probably closer to the release of the game here. It's off quite a ways, but we'll definitely get him in here. It's supposed to be pretty neat.
You guys, as soon as I'll be able to talk about it, you'll be the first to know for sure.
Fantastic. And so we also have Jonah Austin joining us. He's now our Workshops 1 for our rigging division here at iAnimate, and he'll be heading that up this January, starting out here. And we are very thankful to have him joining us here.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good to be with you.
Now, one of the things that I think has made, kind of talking with David and Rick here about our rigging division is this isn't just something that we've kind of tacked on to iAnimate. This is something that has some background specifically for animators. And looking at your bio, Jonah, I noticed there that you also have an animation background. Can you talk to us a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Originally, when I got into CG, I always thought I was going to be an animator. And then when I started, I actually was taking classes at Nome in Hollywood. And I enrolled in the rigging class because I wanted a strong rigging background if I was going to animate. Because certainly, if we're using rigs all the time to animate, we should know kind of how they work. So I was in my rigging class, and I showed an aptitude, I guess, for rigging, you could say. So, and I was actually hired at Imageworks right out of class. So
wow.
Rather than kind of waiting around to see if I could become an animator, I kind of just went for it because it was very interesting, obviously, material. It's really cool stuff. And to be able to rig at Imageworks was a real honor. It was pretty cool.
Now, what is it that in rigging that has kind of made you draw more to that side? What is it, some of the aspects of it that you, I guess, would enjoy most about rigging?
Well, I have an art school background, but a part of art has always been kind of figuring out creative solutions to interesting problems, and certainly rigging is exactly that. It's every rig you're going to work on, or every kind of solution, you kind of have to be creative, and then you got to weld that with some technical skills, which it's great to have also.
Right.
Left brain, right brain kind of stuff.
Now, I was talking before with David and Rick, and I was also watching some of our lectures from Daniel Belair, who's our Workshops 2 rigging instructor. And then we have T. Wilson, who's going to be our Workshops 3. And I was watching one of his guests one. And I noticed in both of them, and as well as talking with David and Rick earlier, this phrase, instead of just calling a rigger, been calling more of a technical artist. And I really like that, because one of the things that I've seen from a lot of guys who are on that rigging aspect is that it is very technical, obviously, but like yourself, you guys also have a very different side, whether it be animation or organic modeling or something along that lines. And so I really like that term, technical artist.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to use. They are very tech. Some of the, of course, some of the riggers tools are super technical, but in the end, it's your rig that's being viewed on screen. It's your deformations, and certainly, I think, in the deformations is where a real strong artistic background, either in figure drawing, zoological drawing, anatomy, all that kind of fine art really comes into play there.
And at the same time, I really think it's important to mention that how valuable it is for animators in general to have some good technical knowledge, and even some knowledge in rigging as well. Me and Rick both came from Montreal, and we studied pretty much, and we came out of school at the end of the 90s. And back then, most of the companies, especially in Montreal, were small to medium companies. So you get on there. And you pretty much had to do your own rig and set up your own camera and do your own layout. And we've been forced to learn all this stuff on the spot. But then you kind of realize how it makes yourself much more valuable for a company to have all this knowledge. And, it really makes a difference between being a good artist and being a good artist that really understands all the technical sides of what is underneath animation itself, which is the rig and so on, being able to fix your own problem and being able to fix other people's problem as well. And a lot of time that might make the difference at the end of a project of who the company will decide to keep on their team to work maybe on pre-production of another feature or another project. Someone that has all this knowledge.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm sorry, Dave. I was gonna say that with what Dave was saying, having all this knowledge is really valuable. Even when I look to hire, often I ask animators, do they have experience rigging or with effects or setting things up in a scene. I think it's really important to have that type of tool when you come to a new company, especially with medium to small companies, because it gives the directors and the leads the flexibility to move you around to different projects at different times during the pipeline. Other directors I talk to, that's a big question that we have when you're at medium-sized companies. Like, does your guy know how to rig, or is he just artistical, or is he really smart and able to communicate technically?
And although we're always super happy when we have at iAnimate students that call us or send us an email and to tell us, and this is something that happened again yesterday. I have a student that sent me an email and said, "Hey, I just got this new job at Sony. I'm super grateful about everything." And we're super happy to have those students to land in big companies. But the reality for most graduate and student is that their first job might be in one of those smaller to medium company, and this is where it really makes a difference during an interview. If they value you as a good artist or a good artist with a lot of technical background as well. Mm-hmm. So that's really important.
How do you think your animation has helped your rigging aspect, Jonah?
Well, certainly, it's if you are on only one side or the other, if you're only a kind of a rigger, or if you're only an animator, sometimes if the communication to the other side isn't great, you don't really, maybe an animator has a certain need or a style of animating, and the rig needs to be tweaked to accommodate that. Sometimes a rigger can kind of be in his own world and not really talk to the animators, but certainly, knowing how a rig needs to work for a shot to be able to create a performance, has definitely opened my eyes when I'm creating rigs now. It's great to be able to see it from both sides,
Yeah, and Jonah is totally right. I think animation, some kind of animation experience might make a difference for rigor, and I think at some point it kind of makes a difference between creating that the difference between what is cool and what is really needed in a rig. And I've been in a lot of production. I won't name any company or any production, but that you end up with a rig that is able to do 300 different things, but none of them are really needed. And the one or two things that you actually do need are very complicated to achieve with that. And again, it comes back to what Jonah was speaking about, having good communication with rigor. So a rigor that has animation experience is able to, have a good communication with animators. And the other side is true as well, that, an animator with rigging background or technical skills it'll be much easier for him to talk with riggers to kind of be speak the same language, pretty much.
Yeah. So what are some of the projects that you've worked on, Jonah?
Well, let's see. When I first got hired, I was on Open Season at Imageworks. Then from there, Sony trained me in their character facial system. And so I went through several months of training at Imageworks.
This is in rigging.
To go on to rig bases on Beowulf.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So kind of their facial rigging system is kind of, I'd say, probably the most complex rig I've ever seen in production. And, we can all debate what the results were from that. But, certainly it was a very intense period of training, and, I'm thankful for that. All the skills I learned on Beowulf, I used when I went on to be a lead rigger on The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which obviously worked out a lot better.
That's very good.
I went from Beowulf I switched to Digital Domain for that show. So then I went on. I was 2 years on Buttons before I went on to Tron Legacy, where I started some of the early dev on the face rig for Jeff Bridges. Then I rigged about 70 assets for that show. And then I switched to the animation team, the facial animation team during that show. And so I've been animating pretty much full time since then. I was an animator on Real Steel. And then for the last year, I've been at MPC LA working on commercial projects.
Very cool.
As a lead animator.
I can say that your resume sounds a little better than the rigging instructor I had 14 years ago. Just want to put it out there. That's a little more impressive.
And like I said before, one of the things I love about it is that was kind of my point in pointing out that term technical artist is because so much of what you do, even though it is technical, it is an art. And that's what I love, the fact that we're getting guys like yourself who are going to teach rigging from a artist perspective. You have an animation background. That's, we're called iAnimate. That's where we concentrate on. But the fact that we're having these rigging workshops is to be able to help students become a little bit more versatile as they go out into the real world, the workforce there, and to be able to be more versatile in there. And I love that we're able to get someone like you who has that background in both arenas to be able to teach that.
Yeah. Certainly those skills come in handy. There's times where I'll even finish an animation shot with clusters or other deformers just to fix the profiles and the silhouettes and the shapes just the way I want them, So it's given me the tools to actually kind of add another layer on to the rig if I need it while I'm working on a shot. And all of those tools come together ultimately it's for the final image, right? It's for the final pose. It's for the, the look of it. So having all those work together only helps in the end product.
I always felt that sometimes when you have to fix an animation or you have to create or fix a rig or something, a lot of time the mental or the thinking process is pretty similar. It just comes down to having a creative decision of how you're going to solve this or solve this. Either it's how you want to fix your body mechanic or how you're going to create this tool for this feature. So even if the end result is really different between an animated shot and a rig, a lot of the same mental process are the same. And actually, it's a little bit like someone that would do like a snowboard on winter and skateboard during the summer. Well, they're both kind of adding something to each other. So your animation skill would obviously make you a better rigger, and having better rigging skill might make you a better animator as well. Because if you can very effectively and solve your problems, it makes you more effective. It makes you faster. It can make you pull out shots, faster as well, and meet your deadlines, and then grow as an artist as well. So those two sides, left brain and right brain, are really balancing
working
each other,
together.
Right?
Yeah.
I would like to say that I notice, working with a lot of animators, and I mean a lot of animators. I notice a lot of animators that come with that technical knowledge. They really grow fast as artistic animators because they can really get the results that are asked for, and they also become even more independent. They don't need to be followed as much, or have to review their shots. And if you're working in game, that's great. Sometimes you don't need that much things that's technical. I mean, they create tools for us. Like the internal team, the animation team, but also it's like when they're working in cinematics that. That's just dealing with a final render, that they can really deal with some of the complicated stuff really quickly than having to send it to a rigger to, change or create a new rig. I just love having animators that have that technical side, the left brain and the right brain as an artist. So I just think having that creative tool is fantastic.
Yeah.
Coming in January, Jonah, that's when you're going to be starting this workshop here. In your opinion, what would make a good rigger, a technical artist? What are you shooting for as you have students at your disposal here now to train and teach? What are you looking for that would make a good technical artist?
Sure. Well, absolutely. Kind of the first thing we'll learn, and what most rigging students learn is patience, right? Certainly rigging is kind of where animating has an analog kind of, before CG, there's been animators, but a CG rigger is kind of a new creature, right? There's you can look to stop motion armatures and whatnot for influence, or back to older stop motion creatures, but rigging doesn't have a lot of background skills you can kind of acquire before you jump into it. So you have to have patience to kind of learn things that can be non-intuitive. Maybe when you're skinning a skin cluster, the results that you're getting aren't always intuitive, right? It doesn't always make sense what's going on. So riggers got to be patient, and then they've got to kind of be able to work backwards and kind of debug. You have to work through a process of debugging, see where each piece of a rig, how they all work together to come out with a bigger picture. And then you also, obviously, one of the things I stress is if you're going to be doing, final render deformations on a character rig, you have to have the kind of the anatomy skills, some of the life drawing, because if you get a good model, it's not the model that's going to go on into the show. It's going to be your rig that finally gets seen, right? Your rig needs to look as good when it's moving as it did when it was modeled originally. So a rigger can kind of screw up a really nice model with some really bad deformation. So you have to have the artistic, so like we were talking about before.
And I kind of agree with Jonah on this one, because most of the really good riggers that I had to deal with always had anatomy book pretty close by to really understand what muscle is putting on what bone to create with what kind of deformation. So this kind of knowledge becomes really critical once you want to get to a certain level of quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think also what makes a good what I like in a good rigger is that he understands the needs of a production, regardless if it's commercial, film, or games, that he understands the needs of the animators and the needs of, the programmers and the needs of the production itself. And I think that's something that is really important when you're looking for a good rigger or a technical artist.
Yeah, and I would say someone that is a real team player is really important as well, because I've been really fortunate most of the time. I dealt with really good riggers, but on some production, I dealt with people that were just doing their amazing thing in their corner, and you had no idea what they were working on for like a month or something like that, and then they would release the rig, and then you kind of play with it, and you're like, wow, that's I don't even know where to start here, and it's really heavy, and I don't even have this feature. Can we at least have this? And they would answer, well, we already spent all the budget for this rig, so you have to work with what I
you
created.
got, huh?
So being a team player and understand that in the end result, you're creating a tool that the animator will use to create a performance. To be aware of the complete pipeline of the production is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a rigger has to understand that his product that he's creating of the rig needs to flow downstream to all the other departments, and it's got to make it all the way to the end. So, it's great if if your rig is really cool and you can get it to do really cool stuff, but you have to at some point let it go down the stream and make sure it works all the way down to final render.
Now, has most of your rigging been in feature, or have you done any video games as well?
I haven't done games. I was all features and then just recently doing commercials, but I am currently working on a project that I'll be exporting to the Unity game engine.
Okay.
So I have been looking at that stuff, and certainly for my other classes in which I'm teaching, I try to understand what each of the game engines kind of require from a character rig. Some engines you can't use blend shapes and you can only use joints, so I have been researching some of that stuff, and certainly the stuff I'm going out to Unity now has been very interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
One of the things that I forget who I was actually talking to this about, and it's just, I don't know if it's part of the industry that we're in, is that there's always this mindset of, at least the people I've dealt with, of learning, constantly trying to learn, never feeling like you're satisfied. And that's kind of what I'm getting from you here right now, is that, you're having to kind of move beyond maybe your comfort zone into a new arena. But it seems like from what, you're kind of mentioning there, it's interesting. It's not something you're going, okay, I have to go do this now. It's intriguing to you from what I'm gathering.
Yeah, absolutely. The industry is evolving constantly, obviously. And you do have to kind of pick up new skills, and you gotta be open to new things. And I think if you just sit back and kind of, depend on kind of an old set of tricks that you acquired, you're gonna find yourself slowing down and not being able to compete if you don't kind of stay on top of things.
Yeah, it's crazy how rapidly it moves in our industry. And I think you just look at technology in general in our era, and it's evolving incredibly rapidly in computers. And I'm just looking at how I was rigging 10 years ago and how some of our riggers are rigging now. And, it's night and day. They developed so much tool to have a much faster workflow, different technique. Now there's much more scripting being used, or Python. There's, all kind of stuff that makes their life, much easier actually to be able to have the same result, and sometimes much better than what we've been able to get as well. So always, this is a really cutting edge technology industry. So you have to keep up with that.
Yeah, like picking up those new skills personally is for me is the fun part. Being pick up these skills, being creative with it, and knowing when to use it and how to use it. It's really fun, and I think when you're in it for industry so long, that you have to enjoy that and realize that it's part of what you do, and it's also the fun part. So I think it's a good point that you touch, Larry.
I really see this as, using a lot your left brain and your right brain. At some point, you're really creative, but at some point you don't have any inspiration. And if you're able to go on something that is more technical, then you can be very effective at that for a certain amount of time, and then come back to the artistic side. So it's almost like an exercise of, training both sides of your brain. And actually, I know that when I started my first task in one of my first job to do some rigging, I was going, I wasn't really happy about it, but then I've been very surprised how I actually enjoyed it, because it kind of, get me somewhere completely different than what I was used to do. But that was I really enjoyed it actually, and I was the first one being surprised to enjoy doing any game. But, yeah, true story.
So, okay, another pop quiz, Jonah.
Sure.
What is a favorite aspect of being a technical artist, and what is your least favorite aspect of being a technical artist?
Oh, good one.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, let's see. My favorite aspect of being a technical artist. I was going to try to say something funny, but to be in all honesty, my favorite part is kind of really being able to dig really deeply into a topic, like face rigging. I essentially worked on faces for almost 5 years straight. So being able to, that's also my least favorite aspect of being a technical. So, I really enjoy being able to dig deep and get very involved. And, kind of, there's the craftsman aspect of it that I always really enjoy. My father was a carpenter, and creating a rig, even though it's abstract and it's virtual, you still are creating this kind of tight little, I don't know, almost a machine, right?
Right.
It's almost like being a watchmaker or something. So that kind of
Cool.
being able to, play with gadgets, I'm really into that. And then on the flip side of that, having to just play with gadgets is my least favorite part of the like I said before, I went to I studied fine art in school, and I always thought I was going to be an animator. So some of the more tedious aspects of character rigging, while it can be a drag, it's just part of the bigger. It's a small piece of the bigger project. So, I try to remember that when I'm painting skin clusters for, someday.
I think for my own experience, and to pick up to what you said, is that, same thing as for animation and rigging, the fun part is creativity. When you have, a new challenge and you have to come up with, make creative decision and build something. And what I enjoyed the least, and it's exactly the same thing in animation, is repetition. Once something has already been created and now you just have to execute and to multiply this by the amount of character that you have and just, be on the chain of production and do the same thing over and over and over. As for an animator and a rigger, for me, it's exactly the same thing. Creating is really inspiring, motivating. Repeating the same pattern over and over can be really tiring.
Yeah.
But that final outcome is always what kind of makes it worth it.
Yeah, that payoff, that shot on screen, sure.
Okay, what would, in your opinion, make a good rig? So we've talked about, what makes a good rigger. In your opinion, what makes a good rig? What are you looking for?
Well, you hear it over and over again, but you got to keep it simple, right? And I think always the simplest and most elegant solution kind of tends to work best. So if you can accomplish a task in the fewest steps possible, that's probably the best way to accomplish the task, right? Like I said before, I worked on a facial rig for Beowulf, right, at Sony, and that was a very, 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 very complicated rig. And then I switched to Digital Domain, and we did a much, much, much simpler rig for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. And I feel like, that really showed me the power of just kind of,
simplicity
all the time. Clarity, simplicity, ease of use, and certainly for an animator, playback speed.
Real time.
Keeping it as light as possible. Is really,
for sure.
Really key.
Now, you having that animation background, do you feel like that kind of helps get you that, I think I heard T. Wilson mention, something like 80% of the way there, that helps you in your problem solving without getting too complex. Would you feel like that kind of helps keep you a little more simplified because you know what the animator is looking for?
Yeah, exactly. Like, David mentioned, there's a lot of really complicated rigs have tons of automated features and really cool bells and whistles that often, as an animator, receiving those really cool complex rigs, I end up turning half that stuff off. So as a rigger, I may focus on what's really important and get that in the rig first, and then worry about the extras later.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, another thing that is that maybe sums up, but you want your rig to be intuitive, which means that you look at it and naturally say, oh, I think that this should be doing this, and this is exactly what it is doing. And this is that's a big difference between something that is simple and easy to use. It's really intuitive, and for me that kind of reminds me a little bit like an Apple product. It looks really simple on the outside, pretty intuitive where you look at stuff, but in the background it's really complex, but you don't see it. It's there, but if you need it, it's there, but it doesn't get in the way. So it's just a matter of design at some point to be able to design something well that does everything you need, but that looks super simple, that is intuitive, and like Jonah said, that is fast as well. Because, if you have a fast rig, well, you're going to be fast to do your work as well. So, the relation there is 1-for-1. It's totally there.
Right.
What are you looking forward to maybe the most with teaching here at iAnimate?
Well, I'm very interested in, being an animator. I want to find people, artistic people, animators, who are also interested in tackling some of these complex technical problems in rigging. It's the rigging is a small club at this point. It still is a kind of a small group of people that do it. So kind of anytime we can kind of grow that pool of riggers out there, I think it's good for everybody, good for the industry, as a whole. Because certainly there's some really great riggers out there, and there's some really, riggers that could use a little more, time animating with their rigs or something, So I think getting, nicer rigs out there and a wider appeal, and then getting more people interested in rigging is, I'm really interested in teaching this first introduction class to try to get people really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm really on board with that, because I've been in the process in the last few weeks to trying to find some good technical artists for my own team. And honestly, I couldn't imagine how actually hard it is to find those. There's not a lot, and most of the time, really good riggers or technical artists, have pretty good position in companies, and companies are willing to do what they need to do to keep them as well. And it's been actually a surprise for me to see how, rare species good technical artists are.
You rarely find an out-of-work rigger, right?
A good one, huh?
Yeah, like I said, like when I'm looking, that's one of the first questions I often ask my animators, like, do they know rigging? Because I find I'm looking like a diamond in what's the expression? Diamond in the rough. Yeah, I'm just looking for that gem that I'm like, wow, I got this great stone. I'm willing to invest in someone that already has that first step, because I know they're going to really grow as an artist, regardless if they go full on rigging or animation or very technical artist. And having that, and I totally agree with everyone, like it would be great if we get more of these, and it would probably make my job easier when it comes to hiring technical artists.
I would even say that during interview, it's almost like a tricky question, because a lot of time went into a lot of interviews recently to kind of build my team, and a lot of time there's a little question hidden underneath the question of, do you have some technical background? It actually tells a lot about someone if he tells, yeah, I'm actually really interested into rigging and knowing a lot about everything that is around it, or someone that tells, oh no, I'm an animator, I don't touch the rigging. That actually says a lot about someone that is willing to do the extra mile and understand everything that is around him, or is he just going to focus on what he's supposed to do and not do too much around it. So sometimes we don't just ask the question to know if they do have the skill, but it's more, are they interested to know more than just what they thought they would have to learn in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I could say more about that.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah, interview's over.
I was like, yeah, you're right.
So this is where you're gonna put the little music, right?
Yeah. Now we're gonna see if we can squeeze a little bit more out of Jonah here. What do you feel like you get a good balance of what you're doing now as far as an animator and a rigger? You kind of those two passions.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I've been at MPCLA for the last year, and it's a smaller shop. So it's been really cool to, maybe at a larger shop, you don't have the opportunity to kind of take a model, rig it, animate it, and pass it all the way through the show. It's been great to be able to do both things, and to rig my own rig, then animate with it and pass it on. So at a larger shop, you maybe just rigging or just animating, obviously. And at a smaller shop, yeah, it's been great. I've been using both sets of skills, and it's really rewarding to kind of see your work go all the way through.
That's one of the things I heard T. Wilson mention on his guest lecture that we have in the vault, was that sense of ownership where you've touched it on more than just one level. Yeah.
It's often more rewarding than feeling like you're kind of a a small part in the pipeline.
Yeah, I was going to say really quickly that in some of the smaller game divisions, I do a few rigs and I had them go all the way through the pipeline. And as much as, it could be, time consuming, or I might not have the patience because I have to deal with so many other things, but it is extremely rewarding knowing that you can do so much more than just, bring a character on screen. And, and again, this makes that person more valuable to the company and having that knowledge. So.
Yeah, and it actually gives more confidence to the artist as well to know that if there's a problem that comes, they're not dependent to other people's around, but they can actually fix their own things. So there's a not only pride, but confidence that comes with that knowledge as well.
Yeah, that confidence. I mean, like if I have to debug something, I'll just go in and strip away things, and if I just need to, just because I have to get a shot out, either as far as cinematic, and I just need to get it out, I can strip it down and get it out right away and deal with it later when I do have time. And, to me, it's just so practical having that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are some of your, outside of maybe CG or maybe some of the, some of your other passions? Yeah. I noticed that a lot of these guys within of our instructors are musicians, or we have actually a couple that do martial arts. So is there anything that's you enjoy outside of that?
I wish I could play music. Being I've been a visual person kind of since the beginning, and it's unfortunately for me it was one or the other. Well, I love music. I love being in LA. I go out to I've been able to go out and see almost every band I've ever wanted to see. So I love seeing music. I did do martial arts for many years.
Very cool.
I oil paint, and I also love to ride motorcycles. I guess are my two other passions.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let me ask you this then: how has your martial arts helped you in the CG realm?
Well, it's awesome. I mean, I first started when I was 11, and to just to learn the way your body works. From the very beginning, that's almost like it's been such a big part of animating. Certainly I started with martial arts as a kid, learned the way my body worked. Then I moved on to figure drawing and figure painting in school, and you learn about the muscles and the way the way they formally all fit together. And I think all of that stuff, anything you can kind of learn in the real world is you can apply it to your animating skills, right?
Yeah. I was actually,
animation is really a recreation of life, or it's actually an interpretation of life itself. So pretty much any passion that you have outside of work at some point or another will fill you with inspiration or motivation in your work. So I think this is one of the many reasons why our industry and animation is a very we're very, very passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually in class with Ted T, where one of our students was not going to be able to make the class because he was going to be able to go to a concert. And Ted was great for it. He was like, absolutely. He goes, just your experience there will somehow affect how you animate a shot later on, you know? And so some things that can kind of seem so separate from one another, in reality, they are so beneficial. Like you're talking about in regards to martial arts, just understanding weight and balance and how, you know, your hips have to move and things of that nature overlap and follow through, you know, with a punch or a kick or something, you know, plays into, you know, effect when you start animating, or even like you're saying, rigging, knowing how the hips have to work.
Right. It's all about observation. I mean, when you train your eyes to observe what is going on around you and really concentrate and observe, this is something that's going to help you in your animation and it's going to help in rigging as well. Because, you know, this is kind of a skills that's going to help you with all this area of creation.
Right.
Sure. Absolutely.
So any side projects you do or no time?
Side projects. I am, you know, I've just kind of switched roles. I left MPC LA and I've actually been hired on as an artist in residence at Nomen.
Okay, very cool. Where you learned?
For the next couple of semesters at least. And I'm going to be able to direct a short.
Oh, very cool. Right on.
Awesome.
So, yep, I'm going to absolutely be focusing on a kind of a side project.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that kind of gives us a little segue here. One of the things that was kind of running through my mind here earlier today is just the vibe and feel within iAnimate, that it very much has become a mini studio to a certain degree. Just the vibe. We have a lot of students who are professionals who kind of come in and want to polish up on their skills, and it's kind of definitely raised the bar. But I don't know if you recently saw that we released our first
Team
webisode.
Ultimate.
Yeah, Team Ultimate.
I loved it. It was
webisode,
awesome.
You know, and we've been able to use a lot of the rigs. Legion has been recently introduced into our character rigs there, and that was rigged by one of our instructors. Was it Daniel?
Yeah.
Daniel.
Well, Daniel did most of the rig, and then there's been a few tweaks by Kevin Rucker. So it's been a collaboration.
Right. And so you kind of just mentioning what you're doing over there has very much been a part of what it's been neat just to see that organic transition into that, where we're using characters and rigs that some of either our students or like this here, our instructors have worked on, to now be able to kind of put into a small production. And it's very much given that kind of small studio feel.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, anytime you get a bunch of creative people in one space together, that, you know, explosions of creativity are going to kind of start popping up all over the place in unexpected places.
Yeah,
right.
And I really see it more like a community of artists than a studio, because, you know, a studio has, you know, a certain product that is has to release at some point for a client or whatever. When it's a community, you know, there's no one is obligated to do anything. But if someone has a good idea, and, you know, even if the end result is not a commercial product, we all do this to have fun. We all do this because we're passionate about what we're doing, because, you know, we want to do side project on the side, and we want to develop our skills at the same time, and we want to meet other artists that might give us, you know, great knowledge or opportunity to work somewhere else. So it's really all this momentum that is building, and now you start to see. I don't know if you guys have seen the short from that Andrew Adbury as being director of the city, and I mean, I look at this, and this is for me definitely something that should go in, you know, animation festival, and, you know, it's just amazing. And again, it's just someone that has a great idea that say, you know what, I always wanted to do a short. Now is the time, let's do it. Like many different students, and mostly from iAnimate, but others that got around it, and that just make it happen. And at some point, you have a final result, and everyone is really proud of it. And, you know, it's pretty impressive when you have this community of artists with all the art, you know, the inspiration that is just boiling, and you have all this result. It's great.
Yeah, that's what's been neat, seeing just the addition of the divisions within the games division now, and then, like I said, the rigging here as well. It's not just something, like I said, we've added on to just because. There's been definitely a reasoning behind this, and it's just been neat to see how it has, like you said, brought more diverse skill sets together to be able to produce a lot of the stuff that we're doing now.
Yeah, it's just expanding the artistic universe that we already, built with the first feature in Division, and now we just have more option. And it's really interesting to begin to see collaboration between different Division and everything that is slowly boiling that will maybe emerge 1 year from now at some point. But this is definitely a very exciting and dynamic time right now.
Very cool. So, what's one of your favorite rigs that you've done, Jonah?
Certainly. I mean, working on something like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button was really exciting, and it was one of those rare times where you get to work in visual effects, kind of without the whole Michael Bay influence. It's kind of to be able to do something with some subtlety and kind of a really high aesthetic like that was certainly really rewarding working on that and seeing it all work out the way it did.
I think working for someone like David Fincher or working for someone like Michael Bay might be a different experience. Yeah. Whatever your taste might be, I'm pretty sure it's a different experience.
Yeah, working for David Fincher was really a special experience. Just seeing him in dailies every day and the way he contributes, the way he understands visual effects, and what he brings to the whole process is really pretty cool. Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. And again, just to make a link with what we talked before, for me, someone like David Fincher or even someone like Jim Cameron, those are people that have, artistic taste, but have a very strong technical understanding of pretty much everything that is going on around them. And when you have the combination of those two, I mean, sky's the limit in terms of, the group of people you can surround yourself with and the project that you can tackle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well said, yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that, Jonah, while we got you on here? We do definitely appreciate your time.
I just want to say that I am really excited to kind of create this introduction to rigging class for iAnimate. And I hope I can build some enthusiasm for learning the technical aspects of animation. And I'm excited to be in a cool team who's a cool group of people who are working on cool stuff, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Well, Jonah, we do very much appreciate your time and definitely looking forward to working with you on this. It's been a really neat and unique group to work with. We're a very tight-knit group, and just the way the community has evolved as well to want to create this further and to push this art form here. So it's been a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table too.
Great. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity.
All right. Yeah, thanks again for your time.
All right. Thanks, John.
I really enjoy that aspect of it, though. The fact that we're able to kind of, again, bridging multiple disciplines, So that was a neat interview, and we do appreciate Jonah's time here. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we've just finished up here, like CTN, as well as some of the stuff we've got cooking in the pipeline here.
Yeah, I mean, CTN was a great event. We had a lot of our instructors that were present and, either giving panels or on the floor meeting students. I just want to say thank you to those guys who were there. We did our first game panel. That was also a great success. That was a big step for the industry to be able to, CTN is mostly about feature film and TV series, but having some game panels there this year was great. Blizzard was there also, so that was fantastic. And then we wanted to give back to the community. We decided that we're going to do a special online event for our followers, anyone who's listening to the podcast or anyone who sees our, who's on our Facebook and newsletter. We just wanted to do something really special and just try to give back, for those also who couldn't make it. So
right. So basically, to back this up, we had at CTN Rick. That's not two people there. That's just one.
That's confused the audience.
Yes, Richard and Rick.
I am the same person.
That's right. He's got split personality. We had Rick there, Jamal Bradley, David Lamb, and Cameron Fielding.
Yeah.
Did a panel there called Bringing Games to Life. There was probably some people who weren't able to make CTN in general, or maybe even make the lecture there. And so one of the things that we decided to do was to kind of be able to bring this to the world and do an online live event with Rick and some of the other guys as well to kind of bring that up to speed there.
Yeah, that's right. We really wanted to really, showcase, why we, the things we need to do for games and why we do it, and also the importance of game development and the difference. There is a huge difference, between, commercial feature and games, and we wanted to bring this experience and this knowledge and to the audience and to students, who are there, or people in the professional field that are curious about games.
I can add to that, Rick, that right now it's a pretty exciting time in gaming, and I think that a lot of people might be wondering why people like me and Cameron Fielding, for instance, have been in DreamWorks for many years, and we recently jumped to the gaming industry, and for some people that might be like, you really left DreamWorks for the gaming industry? I mean, what's up with that? So just a little bit to be able to talk about what is going on right now and why it's a very exciting time. Most people in the gaming industry know exactly what I'm talking about right now. A lot of people that only focus on feature animation might not really get it. So that might be an occasion for us to say, well, this is why we think it's an exciting time and why we're passionate about it and why we decided to make the move there. So.
That kind of reminds us, one of these times, maybe even before you jump into a podcast with us in regards to your project, I'd love to have you on, maybe even exactly why you wanted to make some of that transition there. So, but this event here will be December 8th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. December 8th, 9 a.m. That's the time where we'll be. Yeah, Pacific time. We have a bunch of instructors that will be there, but namely we'll have, if everything works right, Richard Lico, Brett Pascal, who's also an instructor, who'll be doing workshop 3, Cameron Fielding, and myself and David Jubar will be all there. Just answering questions, talking about the difference between games and films, and and again, like I said, answering questions, any questions they might have about the field, about our program, or about the instructors. We want to give this time to our followers.
And so jump on the website, jump on Facebook, and you'll be able to see where you can sign up for that event. And if you're not able to make it, maybe time-wise or the slots are full, we are going to have the recording up online. So
yeah, I just want to say that I'll be honest with everyone, the spots are pretty much it filled up really fast. I was excited to know
that's
that
good. Yeah,
people are really interested and they want to know more. And again, this is open to everyone and anyone that wants to participate. So I encourage you, if you can make it, try to get in, and if you can't, we're sorry. We'll do our best to get as many people into the panel.
Now, Rick, I know that was your first time at CTN. David, was that your first time at CTN as well?
Yeah, that was my first time as well.
What'd you think of it?
Experience here. I was actually amazed by the talent that's been in one place on one floor, and I didn't really know what to expect. If like a conference about our animation festival or whatever, but to see all those studios being there and all the artists being there, and just have this very creative community and everybody, and it's also a pretty small community as well. You walk in there, and the amount of people that I randomly met that I knew either from a school or from a studio, or someone that knew someone and another one, or just people that I heard of and they heard of me, and we just finally met and being able to. So I was, if there was two things, I would say it reminded me how small the industry is, even though it seems like it's enormous. And just the talent, just all the demo there, the amazing artists that were either drawing or animating live, all the presentation and all of that. I felt it was very well organized, and I've been really surprised as well with the amount of people that was actually there. Honestly, you would get there after 11 in the morning, you would have a hard time finding parking around it. So it's been a great surprise, the success of that event, and I was really surprised and happy about it. And I think it really shows how healthy our industry is right now to see that something just like animation is able to gather, that many people coming from everywhere in Europe, North America, and even Asia. So I was very happily surprised by it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, personally, this was my second time at CTN. My first time was last year. I just went. Was talking to Jason. We're talking about the game programs, and Dave, of course. And this being the second time, I was like, I enjoyed it so much the first time. I wanted us to do something for CTN. So I was very happy that we got a lot of instructors to participate and bring something to the community and really give back. And I enjoyed it that much. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna do something for CTN, and that's why we had some of these panels. So CTN is such a great event. It's so personal. I think that's a key word that I enjoy and I love being personal with our students or anyone that we work with. It was a blast. There's so many concept artists, designers. It was just honestly it was a blast, and I already look forward to next year.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I really see it as the best, occasion because, although we're always online and, I think it's amazing because you're able to connect, students from Thailand with an amazing animator from, Bungie or whatever. But still to once a year to be able to meet your students and have this connection, and you can, they bring their iPad and they show you their latest animation and you do a critic on the spot and you just see the spark in the eyes of inspiration. And when I personally came back after many years of experience and many production, I was really inspired to just create something, whatever. So I was like, wow, I can imagine the students right now that have been able to meet Glenn Keane and meet their instructor and get live reviews by animators from DreamWorks or Disney or whatever. I think it's just a great occasion to all get together and meet and chat and have this kind of close and personal encounter.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that's been really neat with iAnimate and it being online is how broad it's allowed us to interact with a lot of other people all over the world. But there is something neat about being able to, like you said, gather, whether it be just even once a year, to be able to see face to face these people who literally travel. I mean, there's people from Canada or rest around the U.S. who come out and make that show. And so to get to see them face to face now, it is definitely a neat thing there. And I think personal, I think that's a good key word for that show.
Yeah. You never meet them in person, but it's almost like you know them because you work with them for 14 weeks or whatever, and you kind of struggle together and you find solution together, and sometimes you didn't have solutions together, and you went into this process of any artistic process, which is a lot of hard work and frustration to finally get something that is really satisfying and that you're proud of. So it's really like a emotional coaster ride and a journey that you go through with them, and to finally being able to talk about it in person, as a very satisfying moment with most of my ex-students there.
Yeah, I mean that. Also, I would like to say I like also congratulating the students in person. Like, what, that shot was, I just like, I want to give them a hug. I mean, it might be a little too close, but just shaking their hands, saying, man, you did a great job. Honestly, I know I wrote in an email or we talked on Adobe, but I wanted to say in person, congratulations.
Yeah.
I seen you grow as an artist, and we often say the sky's the limit. No, I mean seriously, the sky's the limit. If you've grown this much in your first workshop or in your second workshop, I can only imagine 5 years from now and 10 years from now. So just to say congratulations to them in person is a privilege.
I think the reason why most of us are actually doing this is to, after many years of having mentors and have people influencing our work and giving us tips and tricks and all that, we want to share and continue to close the cycle of receiving and then sharing again. So when you meet students that 1 year after you actually they were actually in your class, for them to come and being so proud to tell you that they've just been hired by Sony or Real Effects or Disney, you're like, wow. And they tell you, I remember some of the tricks that you gave me, and I know it really made a difference in my animation, and the recruiters really told me that this animation made the difference, and this is why I got hired, and I want to thank you so much. It's a very, very satisfying moment for an instructor when ex-students come and say, you know what, you really made a difference in my life on a professional and personal level as well, because obviously having a job offer like those is changing where you're going to live, who you're going to hang out with, and everything. So,
absolutely.
It was very special.
All right. Well, I know DreamWorks has just recently released Rise of the Guardians. I'm going to actually check it out this weekend. Rick, you mentioned that you had a chance to check it out without giving away too much. We don't want to give away too much.
Okay, I'll try not to.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great movie. It was a great family movie. I brought my family to go see the movie. I enjoyed it a lot. The characters. I don't want to give too much, but the style of animation, it was like another level or another facet of DreamWorks and how they did the animation. They had a different feel to it, and it was really appealing. I really enjoyed it a lot. Awesome. And the characters were very I don't know what the right word would be, but real is a nice word, but it felt there's something that you related to them differently as you would from other CG movies that has been done. So I enjoyed it a lot.
I can just add to that, for having work. I didn't work on Guardians. I was working at Cruise at the time, but I was surrounded, by people that were working on Guardians, and just the amount of work that went for the character development is pretty impressive. So I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm going to go see it pretty soon, but I'm pretty sure this is part of what Rick was talking about, the character development to have very unique personality and really connect with the audience, with the acting. There's so much work that went into that for that specific movie that I can't wait to go and see it.
Awesome. Well, that kind of gives me our segue here for our future podcasts. We one of the reasons why we started these podcasts was to be able to kind of get out that communication. We feel like there's a lot of great animation podcasts out there, but one of the things that I thought was going to make ours unique was just all that we have kind of going on here. We've had a great pool of talent that we can pull from. David alone was kind of talking about to me. He's like, hey, when you start running out, I've got about 100 names on a list here that I can get to you, And once I had sent out an email to our instructors about what we were doing, I had instant replies back saying, oh man, I'd love to be able to do that. And so because of our connections and things of that nature, we were able to get 3 of our instructors who worked on Rise of the Guardians, and we'll be doing podcasts with them over the next couple of weeks that we'll be getting out here too. So we'll have Alexis. How do you pronounce his last name, David?
Wanaroy, but that's actually the American way.
Okay, well, come on, you're up in Canada with French Canadian. Give us the French.
Alexis Wanaroy.
Okay, there you go. I can get Hubert in. That's about it. So,
thank you for not putting me on the spot.
Yeah. Rick, I forgot. Rick.
No. My French is not as good. I have more of that.
As accurate.
It's not as accurate. That's right.
I just learned at CTN though that Rick was up in Canada. I forgot about that, and he speaks French. So yeah, I'll have to put you on the spot next time.
No, please don't.
So we have Alexis, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll have Tal Schwartzman.
Jacob. Oh,
and
sorry.
And then Jacob Gardner as well. So, and one of the unique things about this too is not only allow our audience to be able to kind of get a sneak peek at some of the artists here, but to kind of get to know our instructors as well. One of the things that's I think makes us unique here at iAnimate is the ability to pick your instructors based upon availability. It's kind of a first come first serve situation there, but you're able to pick your instructor based upon word of mouth or even time frame that works best for you. But this is a neat opportunity to kind of get to know some of our instructors that you may end up having or taking later in another workshop. So.
And another way to kind of choose your student, your instructor is, all of the instructor or most of them have their demo reel online, and and although they all have great reels, we all have our own style, we all have our own taste, and this is something that really shows in the reel. So if you're someone that wants to go for 100% really cartoony stuff, or someone that want to base more your animation on a reference, and that's something that is maybe a little more realistic, you can decide based on demo reels a little bit how you want to aim and which instructor you can choose.
Absolutely.
Or the type of project even that the instructors have worked on. Sometimes we have instructors that work in the VFX and then they go into CG, or in games, or back and forth. So I think that's a great great option to know the type of instructor you're picking. So
right. And one of the other podcasts I'm going to try to get within the next couple of weeks as well is one of the things I think that makes us unique as well is that we have a lot of students who are professionals who are coming in and wanting to continue in their education, so to speak. And so I'm going to try to see if we can pull in some of our students who are currently learning at iAnimate, but also working in the industry. So just a unique perspective for our podcast here.
Yeah, that's great.
Anything
That's
else,
great.
fellas?
Yeah, I would like to remind everyone, to join our newsletter and check out our Facebook. We put a lot of stuff, on our Facebook every day. New videos of students' work, or even we do interviews with instructors or with other professionals. And there's a lot of material that's there, and I just want to encourage everyone to say just go at it and check us out, and of course just go on the newsletter if you want to keep up to date with what's going on with what podcast we're going to be doing next, or what event we might be at, or if we're in Montreal or Toronto or Vancouver and we're doing just a quick get together. Just stay just keep yourself informed.
There's a lot of very great artists and working on a lot of cool stuff, and if you want to have a glimpse of it, I think the Facebook page is a pretty good way to just get introduced of a little bit of what is going on, and then go on the website to kind of have more information about all the workshop and stuff.
All right, fellas, we'll close this out here. Again, we'd like to thank Jonah Austin, our future January workshop rigging instructor. We are open enrollment right now for that block. Thank you very much, Dave, for your time. I know it's late there, and Rick, yours as well.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for bringing it in your beautiful voice to the podcast world around.
even under the weather.
even under the weather, still deliver.
Fantastic. All right. With that, we are out, fellas. Thank you very much.